So recently I was invited to give a talk about how I use technology to transform teaching and learning in the college classroom. And I'd like to share that talk with you. And I'm going to be breaking it down into a series of videos. I'm not quite sure how many videos, somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 different parts, because it was an hour-long talk. And I don't want to do it all at once, obviously. So we're going to start. We're going to start. So the name of this talk was Doing the Impossible, Using Technology to Transform Teaching and Learning. And if you don't know me, I am an associate professor of literacy studies at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. All right, so what I'm going to do in this talk is I'm going to share with you how you can use technology in meaningful ways that will push you as a teacher and transform how your students learn and experience your classes. So it can seem really exciting, it can seem overwhelming. There are so many options and places you can start. And today I'm going to share with you in this first video, I'm going to share with you how to identify and use technological tools in ways that will work for you, get you excited about teaching, and reshape the learning environment. And as we start this journey, I'm going to ask you to evaluate and consider changing your status quo as it relates to teaching and learning. And specifically, I'm going to ask you to consider these 3 questions. I want you to think about who your teaching practices serve and who do they work well for. What kinds of students benefit from how you set up your teaching and who doesn't? Second, what values do your instructional experiences promote? And you'll hear me throughout this series using the term experiences or instructional experiences throughout, because I really see what happens in the classroom as a set of experiences for students to engage with or not, right? Because how they choose to engage is ultimately their choice, and everything is an experience. And then finally, I want you to think about what your instructional practices say about what it means to be a teacher and a learner. And I'll be highlighting my own thoughts about it as I share some of my practices with you. All right, so this is our table of contents. This is what we're going to be focusing on. It's just a brief outline of what we'll be examining. And today, obviously, we are starting with Chapter 1, which is Tales from the Syllabus. And I want us to start us off in a place that we can relate to, which I believe is the syllabus. We all have a syllabus. We all have experiences crafting them, using them, right? There are a number of ways that you can use technology in conjunction with your syllabus that can enhance it and change how students experience your course. Now, before we go any further, I want to be very explicit about this. My university does have a learner management system, right? The LMS, and I can use that. I choose not to use it. It doesn't work for me. And so when I give you examples throughout this series, they will be outside the context of an LMS. And I have never used an LMS. I want to be honest with you about that. I've just played around in them a little bit. I've never found them to be useful in doing the things I want to do. It doesn't mean that you can't do some of what I will show you within the context of an LMS. It just means that I don't. So let's get started by thinking about our syllabus. This is an example of the syllabus template that I'm expected to use at the University of North Carolina. And all I want to communicate here is that I'm given a set of boxes to complete. You can see at the top that I have to put in specific program information, and then there's also boxes for things like assignments, course schedules, course objectives, pretty standard, typical stuff. But it is a box, and it is pretty limited in terms of what it wants me to communicate about my course. And the larger point is that I write the syllabus and I give it to my students. There is no shared authorship here in this format. Students don't get input about the syllabus when it's a form that I'm supposed to submit to the university at the start of the semester. And this form says very particular things about teaching and learning. It says things like, the teacher constructs the syllabus in absence of the students. The syllabus is something to be followed by the students. Input from the students is not typically expected. But my point here is that this box, this is not a dialogue at all. When I hand students a form like this, I don't think it communicates in any manner that I value what they might have to say about their experiences in my course. And I think students are used to this. The syllabus as a form letter it's kind of the norm, right? But I wanted to find a way to break away from this model. Now, it doesn't mean I get to ignore the form I just showed you. I still complete the form and turn it into whoever it is I'm supposed to turn it into, right? But I don't give that form to my students. I give them what you see before you instead. Now, this is what I would consider to be a living, breathing document that I created using wiki spaces. And don't worry, because in the very last video, I've got all the resources listed, and I'm also going to list them in the description section of the videos as well. Now, this example comes from a course I taught this past fall. It was a master's level course for K-12 teachers. It was a course called Content Area Literacy, and it looked at how teachers can support reading and writing development in content courses like history, science, math, and so on. And as you can see, a number of things just by looking at this shot. So first, in the far left, I've got course meeting dates. Each date is hyperlinked. And so let me show you a shot of what one of these dates would look like if you clicked on it. So this view is from August 18th. And what I did on this page, what I do on every page, is provide an overview of what we will be doing in class that day. And I make these links public about 1 week in advance of the meeting date. And so you can see here that we'll be talking about this question, what counts as knowledge? And there's an activity that they will be doing, and I explain that. And this session, which was the first day of class, in this session, I focused on using minimally invasive instruction, which you can see I linked to. And then there was a TED Talk that I also linked to. And the idea here was that students could access these links to get more information about the concept of minimally invasive instruction. I gave them some background information in class on what it was, but then I also gave them links so that they could learn more if they wanted to. All right, now, if we go back to the example of the schedule, you can also see how this functions differently from a traditional syllabus and also in ways that are familiar. There are meeting dates. There are readings. Some of them are hot linked, and sometimes I'm just telling them what pages to read from a book. There are things that are due. That's pretty standard stuff. It's just organized a little bit differently. And we also have, you can see, a hashtags in use column for when we use Twitter. And I'll be talking about that more later on, not in this video, but in a later video. And then to the right, you can see that there are a number of links to different pages that give students more information about the course. Now, I applied principles of gamification to this course. That's why you see pages on the far right called achievements and leaderboard and so on. I'm not going to be getting into gamification. That's a whole other thing in and of itself. But my point here is that you can create whatever pages serve you and your students for your course, and then you can add and delete and modify them as it makes sense to. So now we don't have a static document anymore, right? We have a living, breathing document that can be revised by myself. It can be revised by the students at any point in the semester for any reason, and in ways that the traditional box form doesn't allow. Now, of course, you could argue that you could always modify the syllabus in any format, and you can. It's just that I think that this is more of an inviting format. All right, so now, what's really interesting is that although I've done some work to make the syllabus more interactive, my students don't come to my course automatically knowing how to engage with it, okay? They often have very traditional school experiences where they are given a syllabus, and if there are any issues, the instructor fixes them. Pretty normal stuff. This is an email that you see that I got from a student in my course last fall. And as you can see, she had problems accessing a link to an article on minimally invasive instruction. And while that link worked when I put it in the syllabus, at this point it no longer did. But this is a piece of text coming from the internet, right? This is not a link to a scholarly peer-reviewed journal article. She could have Googled minimally invasive instruction and learned more about it. She could have sent me one or more links to replace the broken one. She could have replaced it herself or placed a new link alongside the old one. She could have done any number of things, right? Because the wiki is open and free to edit. But she didn't. Instead, she assumed or expected that once she reported the problem, I would fix it, which I did because I didn't want the broken link to affect others. But I share this example to make a point. We can use technology to make our classes more accessible and interactive, but our students bring with them a particular set of experiences about what it means to do school. As we integrate technology into our instruction, it has the potential to change how students experience learning. So be prepared. They might try to make it fit into the standard box. All right, so I'm going to end the first talk there. I will start the next video. We'll start with chapter 2, which will focus on critical digital pedagogy. If you want to contact me or read more about how I use technology, I am going to put that in the description section of this video. And so feel free to come by my blog, leahall.wordpress.com, or feel free to email me. My email and the blog website link will be in the description of this video as well.